This is A Line Around Your Thoughts, a podcast that centers on conversations with artists, writers, musicians, and creatives from around the Inland Northwest. I'm your host, EJ Iannelli. Today, I am joined in the Rocart Media studio by Brett and Rose Noble of the Spokane-based record label and event promoter 221 Press. So welcome, Rose, and welcome, Brett.
Thank you for having us.
I am psyched that you're here because I have, among a fairly varied musical palette, I have a soft spot for DIY and punk and indie rock.
You got a Jawbreaker shirt on?
I'm sporting my job. I try to wear episode appropriate t-shirts.
For sure.
That works.
Yeah, and so clearly I've got a soft spot for it. So when this opportunity came up and, Beneath the Falls was released and there was so much going on, I thought I really would love to have you in here and cool. Chat about, 221 as well as everything that that relates to that. So
awesome.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you.
And we were catching up very, very, very briefly before we started rolling, and I mentioned that 221 is not your first venture, so it's not your first rodeo.
Sure.
And so there's a history before this that begins in Illinois in the Midwest. No?
Yes, this is correct. We're from Illinois. We've only been in Spokane for 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
May of 23.
May will be 3 years for me, and
Yeah.
then August will be 3 years for him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we came out here. But yeah, we started, we were from Illinois, spent our entire lives in Illinois. And throughout the years, both of us got involved in DIY music when we were in our teens. Mm-hmm. And, playing in bands, throwing shows. And yeah, like early on in the 90s, I did a little record label at the time, put out CDs and, vinyl was kind of fading out at that time. We did 7 inches and whatnot, but so I got some experience in doing that.
And that was Plow City Records.
Yep.
So how many releases did you have under that label? Because I found 3.
There were 3.
Okay. Good job.
Good
job. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were 3 of them. We did that, and shortly thereafter, we kind of pivoted, and then we did another little label that would be harder to find things from.
Insurgent Sounds.
That's
no?
correct.
Yes, that's true.
And I found 3 from that, but they weren't consecutive. It looks like there was more than that.
Yes, they were mostly like hand done
art style releases,
small runs of CDRs and
hand painted covers.
And at that time you could still do like cool little like business
mini
card
discs.
CDs and 3-inch CDs and just kind of weird things, and so we did a lot of that. And yeah, Rose would paint the covers and do the art, and we did a lot of. It was mostly noise releases. We had our own project called Griffins at that time.
Another deep cut.
Yeah, yes, and so we did that, and at some point, our kids
took over. We have 3 kids.
Regular stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
we're parents, and had to focus a little bit on that, so took a break. But at the time in Illinois, when we did the Insurgent, we went on tour for some noise stuff with the kids.
Yes, when Karina and Hayes were little.
True DIY punk lifestyle.
Driving around in a big old light van throughout the Midwest doing that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cool.
Now, you keep mentioning the term DIY, and this isn't necessarily a genre that immediately comes to people's minds. They think, okay, classical, they think jazz, they think rock, alt rock, country, but DIY as a genre unto itself. It's interesting because I always associate DIY and punk. I see them as inextricably linked. And so I think of it as the punk sound. And as I was kind of ruminating on things ahead of this interview, I was thinking, maybe you could say this of country, but punk more than anything, it's a music that is tied to an ethos more so than any other genre that I can think of.
100%.
Sure.
Yeah. And so when you talk about DIY, this might seem self-evident, but explain the principles and the philosophy behind DIY.
Sure. So
go for it.
Any one person's point of view on that is going to be highly subjective. But it is tied to punk rock. Like what I would say, little P punk rock, because it takes up a lot of different sounds, a lot of different styles. But it's rooted in the idea, like DIY, that you don't need people doing it for you. You don't need big productions. Anybody can do it. It's the most democratic,
Stripped back.
yeah, like
It's
anything
yeah.
you can do. And so what drew us to that, what drew me to that, I was always into music from a very early age. I had an older sister that took me to hair metal concerts and stuff, so loved music, wanted to
So
play the drums.
hair metal, just so I can place this chronologically, we're talking 80s?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, just this little boy tagging along with my older sister. So, but when I looked at when I started playing drums and wanted to be like what I saw on MTV, but it's so far removed, like all the makeup and the outfits and the big guitar stacks and but in 7th or 8th grade, I went to a local show and like that was real, like that suddenly like it was approachable. It's something that you can do, and so DIY is really tied to the idea that when I was younger, for the kids, by the kids, that you can do whatever. You can play a part, and it's participatory rather than going and watching. Like everybody can participate. Doesn't matter what you can.
Yeah,
you
it's
can
different. It's not just playing in a band. It's making flyers. It's having shows. It's coordinating craft markets. It's doing your own graphic design. It's going to Kinko's and making zines. It's all of that. It's getting involved. You need everybody to do it, and there's different talents that can.
It truly is a community, and it truly that's what we've really tried to focus on, is building that idea of that everybody is part of it, and no one's role is less important than the next person's, so.
And if I could add, you also don't need permission to learn how to do the things you want to do. And to have somebody create a spot for you. You can create it yourself. And you can, and it's a lot of self-sharing and educating amongst each other at a coming of age where different lifestyles, whether everything from straight edge to vegetarianism to veganism to making music, making art,
and progressive causes, and you get involved, like, so it really shaped everything we've done with our lives. So
and so it's not punk per se, because it sounds like everything that you're talking about, a funk band could easily do as long as they're doing it themselves.
Right. But you would know that funk band is a punk band, that those kids get it, right? Just by the way it's approached, right? Just the way that people do it. And you're right, man. Like
I think that's true.
We continue to tour the country. Me and my boys have been on the road the last few summers, and we play with all kinds of bands, all kinds of sounds, and you just there's just an approach that you have, a way of doing things, a way of conducting yourselves, and you just know it's DIY, man. It's punk rock.
And you can tell in the adult world who also came up in the it's my belief that anything cool that ever happens, there's a punk kid
somewhere behind it.
So.
And Rose, what is your background? Because we've heard about Brett's background and being taken to hair metal concerts.
Yeah, so opposite.
Did you meet at a hair metal concert?
No, he's a little bit older than me. He's 5 years older than me. But no, I was raised in a really strict conservative Christian household, and actually was like forbidden to listen to music, secular music. I had to only listen to orchestra.
Amy
Grant was like but I played violin, and honestly, I love symphony. I love orchestra music. It's actually, and I actually met him when I was playing violin, kind of getting back into playing violin when I was a teenager. And really, same situation. I went to a show, around 15, and it was in the basement, and I was like, oh my gosh, these kids are playing music that I've never heard of, and they're doing it themselves. And I was like, instantly found my people. So I have a creative background. I've done, art my whole life, freelance design, self-taught stuff. So I work on all of the production in terms of the art and layout and design and website and execution of that. And then I also have a background in organizing and event organizing. So helping with the shows that we do, but prior to that, doing our own like indie craft shows, similar to something like a Terrain here, like that, doing that back in the Midwest, and pretty, I would consider it successful. And that actually came out of the DIY spirit, where I wanted to be able to sell some of my art and my creations, but not have to pay $300 booth fee. So make it accessible, approachable, easy to be there, start in a coffee shop, and then eventually take over the downtown Davenport Figge Art Museum with the mayor. Because it's funny, because we also recognize that ordinary people love to be around DIY punk people. And if they can try to penetrate those skills, you can use them to your advantage. But so my background is art and creative. I didn't go to my first show till I was about 15, and he was seeing hair metal bands and Nirvana in a small theater and really cool stuff. My first like big concert, I think, was like a Blink-182 concert.
Okay.
Which I also love Blink-182, and he doesn't.
So individually or on the Warped Tour?
Individually. Okay. Yeah, individually. Okay. But yeah, and just couldn't go back once I learned about it. And
is this Cheshire Cat era Blink-182?
No, I'm a little bit.
So more Dude Ranch era, or a little after?
It's a little after,
okay,
yeah. So,
okay.
but I mean, I loved Dude Ranch. He's gonna laugh at this because he hates Blink-182. And first of all, that's not like the only band I listen to. But I want to just point out that the other thing about being DIY punk rock is you can own what you like and be cool with whatever it is.
All kinds of gateways.
Yeah, all sorts of gateways. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and there's a place for Cheshire Cat.
Absolutely.
In the punk world. After that, it gets debatable. But
I would agree with that statement. I'm okay with that. I agree with that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so when did this kind of synergy develop between you doing art and you kind of handling the music side of things?
Well,
I mean,
away.
Like he was involved in bands, and I was, again, in a little bit younger crowd, making flyers for my friends' bands and doing zines, and just obsessed with creating art in any capacity. And we kind of met. We met at a show, honestly, and
gonna have you play violin on some of our parts.
I will say this too. Brett's really good at making a list, and I'm really good at helping him check those items off a list.
That's true.
Although sometimes sometimes he has to bother me a little bit to get that stuff done. But yeah, I've always been. I remember taking the first Photoshop class in high school when Photoshop 1 came out. It was like a big deal.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've just been creating design stuff. And I thought I was going to just do graphic design in my career-wise. And it's ended up being beneficial, get me in the foot of the doors. He's got a friend that's an author, too. And I remember I did some book layout for him, too, in our beginning of our marriage. And that was something that really I'm proud of and kind of catapulted, I don't know, could show me that I could do actual design layout projects and kind of make a little bit of money off of it to help pay some bills and stuff like that. But yeah.
Again, it's that attitude, like you can do it. Like
it's like, how can we fill each other's gaps?
Yeah.
Like I can't play the drums, but I can make a flyer for you if you're in a band.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of kids can't make flyers or think that they have an expectation of what a flyer should look like. And honestly, there's people that have opinions on what should go on a flyer and how. We obviously have opinions too, but there's a room for art next to musicians, obviously.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
just kind of make it happen.
And punk is that spirit, and I think you mentioned this, Brett, that you don't have to wait for anybody else to do this for you. Right. You can do it yourself, and even if your posters are kind of messy, that can be.
Who cares? Just keep doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. Promotion is promotion in that.
Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just
Yep. That's and that kind of followed us into, I'm an educator. I've been a teacher, administrator now for 23 years.
And you're at Shadle Park?
I'm at Shadle Park.
Yeah.
Yes, this is true. But, even in that, when it came time to design T-shirts for the basketball team or to run a camp or to put together youth activities. We just took the reins.
Here's a fun fact. We even designed a basketball court.
Yeah,
and had it painted.
The basketball
in our in our old
the high school.
Actually, they just tore it up, but that was a project that I feel like
all the design
people would think, oh, we can't do that. We were like, let's just do it. He came and he's like, hey, the school needs to order a new floor. Do you want to do this logo? I'm like, yes.
And you make the logo huge.
And made it as big as possible.
And so we did. It was
awesome.
Fun.
Oh, cool. Yeah, make the logo bigger. This is something that that one hears in the agency all the time.
Bigger.
Make the logo bigger.
Make the logo bigger.
So you got Plow City Records. And actually, you were in the kind of Quad Cities area. Mm-hmm. So I would assume that was a crossroads of a lot of music. When I think Illinois, there's stuff coming out of Chicago, there's stuff like Hum coming out of Champaign.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a lot of folks, a lot of bands operating there in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. So it seems like it was pretty vibrant.
Yeah. When I got into to doing shows and playing it through hardcore. And our scene was at one of those points, and the Quad Cities is similar to Spokane. It's Spokane's a little bit bigger, but a similar vibe. Blue collar town and
Very similar.
medium sized community. Got a urban feel,
Border
but
city.
you don't have to go too far to find the country. But it was at a kind of a low point where there wasn't much going on, and we were just teenagers that were getting things going. But because of its location, it wasn't. At that time, you could literally call bands and have them come, and gas was still cheap enough, and vans were plentiful that any touring punk or hardcore band from Chicago or Cleveland, or it wasn't weird to
St. Louis,
hey, we
Minneapolis.
want to do a show on a Saturday night. Can you guys drive out here? And you do it, and you just it was a very fun and very surreal to be able to talk to people.
Well, booking the bands you want to see. Too.
Yeah. People
I
you
wanna
look
play
up
with
to,
this
like
band.
bands you bought their record at a record store and you're calling them and saying, hey, you want to come to our town and play? And so we did. And at that time, again, this is a benefit that we had that has seemingly disappeared in many areas. You could rent halls. You could rent Eagles halls or Knights of Columbus halls, and nobody thought twice. It was some 16, 17-year-old kid doing it. And it was always the same story, these old guys would be suspect of you, and then they'd see what you do and they'd think it was cool and they'd welcome you back as long as, they could see you ran a tight ship. So we did that, and it was, you're right, the Quad Cities scene has really grown. Several of our friends have been involved for a long time there.
Yeah, I mean, ebb and flow through certain
but
times.
like any,
like
any
anything.
place,
as a crossroads. Day Trotter Studios was started there by some of our friends, and that whole website and thing got going because of that concept of how many bands are passing through our community on I-80 on any given day, going to Chicago, going to Minneapolis, going to Iowa City, Des Moines, Omaha, all those towns. So we were very lucky to be involved at a time where stuff was accessible and bands were willing to come, and we had the ability to get places, and people trusted us. So
So you had Plow City Records, then you had Insurgent, and Plow City was, I guess, more punk.
No, Plow City was probably more indie kind of stuff. Yeah, same vibe, but it was early on. It was I was a big fan of the early polyvinyl stuff. Again, Illinois-based label. And what they were
I
doing
order
with
from them
Braid
regularly.
Yeah, for sure. And so that was kind of, in fact, Matt, it was somebody I had asked for a lot of advice when we got that started. And so it was kind of that realm. That's what we were going for. But and then Insurgent Sounds was more
Noisy.
That was more noisy.
avant-garde,
Noisy art,
weirdo stuff. That was our trajectory,
It's like
music.
when you can't excel at something, just make
Just
noise.
get things even weirder.
And we played some weird shows. There's one specific show in some woods somewhere where there's a bunch of hippies rolling around on a trash can with a mic, and I was like, "What are we doing?"
It's true.
My sister's watching the kids at a Red Roof Inn down the road. Yeah, but it was fun.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So that invariably raises the question: since you were so established there, what brought you to Spokane?
Rose brought us to Spokane.
So work, we got to work to, pay bills and stuff, unfortunately. But I also like to remind punk kids you can balance it, So I work for the Visitor Bureau here, and it brought me out here. And we're at a time where the kids are. So we have 3 children. Our middle child, Hayes, he was graduating high school in a couple months, and I had gotten offered the position to come out here. So the timing was right. And so we were in the Quad Cities. We were born and raised in the Quad Cities, and that's where we met each other and started our kind of journeys together and in the scene. But we came from Galena, Illinois, which is a tourist town. I was doing tourism work up there. Second most visited city in Illinois, most charming small town.
Wonderful place.
And it was kind of got to the point where, we were in Chicago as often as we could be. So we were driving to Chicago almost every weekend and getting donuts, going to music shops, going to Quimby's. And so when Spokane came available, I wasn't really looking, but it reminded me a lot of the Quad Cities where we were from. I was ready in my career wise to kind of take the next step. And our kids were kind of at the age where it made sense. So as parents, we try to provide stability for the children as long as possible. And they'd kind of reached an age where our youngest child, Everett, was going to be a sophomore, and he's really outgoing, charismatic. And I'm like, if anybody can make the move in the middle of high school, it's him.
Yeah.
Which has proven to be good, but we were nervous about it. So that's why we came out here. And then we've just been like hit the ground running, trying to get involved and meet people in the music scene. And the older you get, the harder it is to make friends with. You have to like put yourself out there even more. You're not in an organized, but so we're like, let's start organizing some stuff, and our kids play music, so that helps. And
literally so she came out in May and started her work here, and
they went on summer tour.
Yeah, we toured for a month, and
when you say we, just clarify who under what moniker.
Yeah, so Hayes.
So Hayes Noble is our son. Hayes is a person, not a band.
The Hayes Noble Band.
But
he loves it when you call him the Hayes Noble Band.
They think it's a band. They say, like, this Hayes Noble Band. Right? But it's a human. And so he does his like solo stuff. He also plays in some bands. And so because we were in a little town, Galena is like 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And great place to raise a family, and we were able to do what we wanted to do there, and it was fun. But there's not many people into like what we play or what we do.
Yeah,
so when Hayes was ready to start playing out after he had done some recording and whatnot, his brother and I just like
tagged along.
We backed him up, drummer and bass, and that was supposed to be kind of temporary, but it works, and I still have fun playing. So I enjoy being there and playing with him. And so we have toured and played a lot of shows, and he put out a record around that time. And so we toured literally.
While I was here with the dog,
moved everything out to here in a big moving truck, and the kids and I came out, and then Everett and I drove back, and Hayes was there finishing up his record, actually his second record. And then we hopped in our van and toured out here. We went east, then we worked our way. Literally, Hayes' first time coming to Spokane was the day
played
we
a show
played here. We played at Nito Burrito.
Well, that's a good introduction.
And it was a great show.
It was actually a really cool show, and we met
Putty Knife and Knee-Bone.
Yeah, and Audrey from Psychic Death was there, and Nat.
It was a great show.
So we met like
Tim.
That's where we met.
You already met your crowd
on
that first day.
On that first day.
Honestly, Luis is who we helped book
it,
and Luis Moda with TPG Radio. He's awesome. He's been great. He connected us with a lot of people. We consider him a good friend. Our first friend that we met in Spokane.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the beauty of like punk rock and DIY. Man, it's like you find your people and you know right where to go to find them. Right, like I mean, I guess that's the same of everything. If we were bowlers, or if you'd go to those places. But we played a show and we met folks, and they thought it was cool that this kid was playing with his dad and his brother, which could be dorky, I guess, anywhere else, but it seems
nerdy.
to work.
It is definitely nerdy, but whatever.
Seems to be all right,
And we also have a daughter who is involved. She's not playing music, but she helps us with shows and promoting and doing some stuff.
Working the door.
Working the door. She's
getting the word out.
We're a unit.
Yeah, we're a little crew.
Yeah.
Well, how long was it before you started 221? How long had you been in Spokane before you were like, I've got the itch to start a record label?
Well, we started it back in Galena.
In Galena,
so,
Oh, wow. So it predates Spokane.
Yeah,
we were trying to do, we were doing a thing before we knew we were going to move out here. We had started, we thought we were going to do a series called Sounds from the Cellar.
Yeah,
and we had
some shows.
A venue that let us
we
hang out, and we were like, we could do more here and get kids involved. But
small ages spaces that we were, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like we continued to be involved on the outside of music the entire time that we were, that the kids were growing up. And so they did kids stuff and played sports, and I was a teacher and coached basketball, and which is where our label.
Hence the 221 Press.
Correct.
There we go.
Yes. Yes.
So like we did those things, and then
really when Hayes started being interested in recording, we were like, let's do this, and we because we put out
but like Yeah, Rose still did art and did the uh, your craft shows and
Because
Yeah.
you've done books that have been issued by 221 Press, if I'm not mistaken, or individual artworks
Art,
that
yeah.
have been,
Art. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
So we kind of always did those things.
yeah, we're interested in doing, and actually, I have a couple other. This is where
Get
so I got a
projects.
full-time job and a dog and 3 kids and this, but we will be putting out some art books. I have 2 things I've been talking about in the
we just
works.
gotta get it done.
So in addition to music, we will be releasing some zines and some art issues. We have some prints. We have really talented friends, right? Like some of the most talented people I've ever met are, again,
Yeah.
DIY kids that just are amazing. So we have some of their stuff that we sell, and
That's where this kind of like all hatched. Like it was Hayes and his music kind of forced us to like, okay, let's finally
organize.
do these things, because we were at a point where yes, our kids were now older. I continued making music in the basement, and she had art shows and whatnot. And our goal was like, let's help people put out.
You need
Yeah.
a platform, it
Yeah.
sounds like,
We-
at a
we-
certain
so
point.
even with the craft shows I used to run, I mean, originally I was making more art at that time, and it ended up turning into like, okay, I'm just have a space for 70 artists. Like we've done it. We did it in the Skywalk, and I was doing it. I was living in Galena, which is an hour and a half. We were living in Galena, hour and a half from the Quad Cities, and I was doing
Still
shows
doing
in
the
the Quad
stuff in
Cities
place,
still.
yeah.
We just kind of did that until it kind of became too hard to do. And again, kids and everything like that. But yeah, constantly, and I'm an artist as well, so I've done some like private shows, and just it's our hobby. It's what keeps us happy and sane, and I don't know, it keeps our minds busy. We like we're constantly organizing. We're organizers.
That's true. So like the label was an opportunity to help like other folks, and we were at a point where, I say this to people, like some people collect art and put on their walls and stuff, and like that's how they spend their money when they get old. And we thought, like, why don't we
Why don't we
put
lose
out
money
art
in
and
putting out vinyls?
put out records and help somebody get prints made of their art that we like, and help platform them and show off. We think we got good taste. We're into cool stuff. So
all right. I don't know.
so we're like, hey man, if we think this is cool, we should help other people see that this stuff's cool. And so so that like, and then Hayes recorded. We were like, this is good enough to put out as a record. Let's do it.
Oh, that's cool. And that makes sense to some of the bands that are already on 221, because I was reading the bios, and one had former members of the Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
And, and I thought, wow, are they in Spokane? And I had no idea, but
That's
no.
our Quad City pals.
Exactly. Okay, so that makes sense of
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So you kind of bring 221 Press with you here to Spokane, and it becomes a platform for Hayes' records, but then you kind of open up that platform to other folks as well. And that's kind of culminated most recently in Beneath the Falls, which is a sampler.
Yes.
But these were all new and original songs, weren't they?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually the sampler just says, "Oh, give me some tracks, maybe one that was like buried on an EP or something like that."
Yeah, you're
but these
right.
were all new and recorded for Beneath the Falls.
Yeah. So that, as soon as we got here, like we kind of, it didn't start out this way, but it's become this. And I think that this is our mission now is, we want to highlight bands that come from what I would call a flyover scene. It's not Chicago, it's not Seattle, it's not Portland, it's everybody in the middle. And we've been very blessed to tour and see awesome bands all over. And it's not just big cities and coming from a small community and doing punk rock and whatnot, like in Landon and Spokane. It's been awesome. So we wanted to like, hey, we've met these people. They make great music. We need to help other people see it. And we have this unique position of being able to like tell our friends back in Illinois, check out this stuff, and tell our friends here, check out this stuff back there. Here, so the comp was just like, again, part of our desire to organize.
And part of our just love for these bands that we're like, man, we have such a great scene here. And of course, we're only talking about one scene. Like, we know there's like a folk scene and jazz and metal and rock. But like the bands that over the last year y'all have played shows with, and we've just met really cool people with kind of the same ethos that we have. And they're making amazing music, and there's a couple on here who've been around for a while, but like they've never been on vinyl, which is so shocking to me.
It's
but
cool.
Also we know vinyl was like not as hot back like, when we talked about Plow City. You were doing 7 inches, but it's really cool to put them all together. And another thing that he does really well is like he's a good curator. And when he makes like he used to make me like mixtapes and mix CDs. It's like a perfect order. And I feel like this comp is a really good order.
You broached something, and I'm so glad you brought this up, because the sequencing was something that really leapt out to me. And there is a definite A side and B side. And this is something that I feel like you don't get a lot. Like there's not this same attention, because we're now in the a la carte playlist type of listening. And it's not just album listening, but this is albums with 2 sides.
Talk
about the sequencing.
He's good about that.
So
he's really good at that.
We're fans of the album, and we really like the album and the idea that it's the whole, and so we got all the tracks, and I did a comp before Plow City. I was involved in another little venture with some friends when we were young, and we did a Quad City compilation CD. And during that time, we just got all these bands from the Quad City put out on CD, and it just seen comps go with punk rock like all the way to the beginning. Like it was an easy way to just get. Before there were playlists and Spotify and all that, it was a great way to try to like get people to get interested in a bunch of things at once, and see what was going on in any given town. And so we thought like that'd be cool to do. Now, and I had some experience in it. We got all the tracks. We again, like part of it was to try to also show off like some cool things about Spokane aside from the bands. We worked with the community college to get them to allow us into the studio. So several of the bands on the comp took advantage of that opportunity.
Amazing studio, by the way.
It's great. It's a great
amazing
place.
Studio.
And so we got all the tracks, and we were on the road. I don't remember. We were sitting in a coffee shop somewhere in the middle of the United States, and me and the boys were sitting there, and that's what a lot of touring is. It's getting into town early and then finding a place to kill time until you got to get to the venue. And so I had all these tracks, and like I just was scribbling down the notes, and I thought like we got it, and I showed it to the boys, and they're like, yeah, this works.
But there were initially 20. Weren't there? You had considered 20 bands, and then you whittled it down to 10.
Yeah. So we the only tracks though that we got, we didn't ask for people to give us tracks and then said, no, yours isn't good. We had a list probably longer than 20. I still have like the for future reference. But it just comps are hard in that you're trying to juggle a lot of artists.
Yeah,
remember, artists, we're not all great at like keeping track of things and whatnot. So you got a lot of different people, a lot of moving parts, and everybody's kind of got to be at that perfect time where they've got a song that they want to do. And part of our stipulation was we want to be new and unreleased. We don't want to just borrow something from something that's already out. We wanted to make this a little more special. And so, like some people are disqualified because they just recorded something. They're putting out a record and they don't have the time. They don't have a song ready. And so we were very lucky that, we had a ton of people that we wanted to work with, and hopefully we'll get to do, someday. And these 10 had stuff that could be recorded or had just gotten done recording. They had a song available, and everybody sent them in. We didn't get to sort through or hand pick anything. What we got, what that comp is what everybody said, hey, here's what we want to do. So we were very lucky, and they're
pretty amazing.
Because
great all of the songs are good. I mean, obviously we're biased, but they're all so good.
Yeah. I mean, the takeaway for me was that how solid everything sounds. Like so many of these bands sound fully formed.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that, you know, some of them have been playing together for a while.
Yep.
But yeah, I was expecting some to be, you know, a little shaky.
Yeah, no, that's
but
how it goes.
The solidity was just incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were really blown away by, and we knew like the people that we're working with, they're all great artists and know what they're doing, and they, you know, record, and so yeah, it just flowed, and we landed on that order, and it made sense, and we did think of it as a two sides. You know, you got these first 5 and the next 5.
I'm smiling because he makes it sound. This is a guy that will be up till like hours of the
I like
night
lists.
with his notepad and
But this actually was pretty easy. Like I just made a few changes as I would about the. And the other thing you got to do is you want to try to get the sides to be pretty equal length.
Yeah.
And so I added them up, and they were almost exact. And I was like, "This is serendipity. This is perfect."
Yeah.
And it just worked. So
That's the mixtape dream. Is
Yeah.
when you
Yep.
got those songs lined up and the running time is equal.
right.
yeah,
right.
I don't know if any of these young kids can do that. You had to have that background
You
and
had that
making
analog.
tapes of timing it.
Can we talk about some of the bands and some of the music? Because
Yes, please.
you know, I've mentioned some of the takeaways from me as a listener. You know, there was the solidity, there was the sequencing, but the other thing is there is a real familiarity for me as a you know, an 80s and 90s kid. When I hear a lot of their music, it is so reminiscent. Like I can trace their lineage back. For most of these bands, I can trace it back to that era, and I think, good, you know, that legacy lives on. And Hayes, I think he cited Dinosaur Jr. and Husker Du
Yep.
as
He loves hum. You mentioned hum earlier.
well, there we go. And there's some sonic influences that we can hear, like maybe not vocally, but I heard like Weaker Thans, you know, from you know, formerly Propaganda.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I heard a lot of this. Like it's certainly more melodic, and so to classify it as punk would be a little too limiting because you do have a lot of indie pop. You have like semi shoegaze adjacent. Talk to me about some of these bands, and you know, are they appearing regularly on the same bill?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, most of the bands you've played with, right?
yeah,
Most of them?
almost all of them.
At least once. And
yeah,
then
or helped or put on shows that they've been part of.
yeah.
I think Blunt Skulls is the only one that maybe we had never played with before. Not because it's always hard to get Nat pinned down.
Yeah, I
for
mean Nat's
a
in a
show.
couple projects and Mariah's
Yeah.
in a couple projects.
Yeah, so-
including Wicked Issue.
Yes. So they're all, yes, like part of doing something like this is you got to trust the people you're working with, and you got to kind of have the same mentality about what everything's about. And so that's where these bands come from. They're all part of like a pretty amazing and growing all ages scene here in Spokane. They, you know, playing Nito, the Dipper, the shows we do at the Garland, or shows we've done at 9, or other places that have allowed all ages.
All the shows we
Spots.
do are all ages.
Yes, we only do all ages shows. And so these bands have embraced that mentality and that approach and the DIY approach. And so that kind of ties them together. And a lot of them are friends and, you know, travel in the same circles. But yeah, sonically, and the other thing that's really, I think, cool about the bands on the comp is it's everybody from people that are, you know, so 47 all the way down to teenagers, and people that have stayed involved and have a good heritage in music and have been around since the 90s,
Yeah,
all the way
and-
to kids who are influenced by that stuff.
And like you said earlier, like trusting, like for example, Jangled Nerves, Ben Jennings put us onto Jangled Nerves. He's like,
Yeah.
"Have you heard these guys?"
Yeah,
And
one
we're
of the
like,
first
"Huh."
things when we moved
And then
here.
we heard of it, we're like, "Oh my gosh, they're so good."
Yeah.
But do you hear those touchstones too
absolutely.
you know, in kind of certainly the 90s era?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I think that's, you know, there's right now in music that's, you know, things come and go, and there's cycles of what people are doing. And I would say, you know, like, yeah, that's become a thing maybe in Spokane. Maybe, you know, part of it is each band influences each other. But yeah, there's definitely those vibes, and I think that's what makes the record sound cohesive. Is that while all the bands are doing kind of different things, and you have heavier stuff, like Belt of Vapor.
Yeah, Belt of Vapors, or more Rage.
More
Rage
like
Against the Machine.
post-hardcore stuff, like Level Plane Records, that kind of thing. But you can hear like the nod without it being like overbearing. They're not cosplay bands. They're not trying to sound like that. You can still hear it like they're doing their take, but you can hear the influences, and that just shows
There's
that
quite a
those
few.
people are cool.
There's quite a few younger bands that I find this interesting in the scene that have that Illinois early 2000s, late 90s.
Midwest emo
Yes,
kind
the
of
Midwest
deal.
emo stuff is
Hip
just like
stuff,
blown
but-
up,
Yeah,
everybody's talking about bands that like we grew up
or hum,
seeing,
or
and they're
like that kind of sound. But again, putting their own spin on it, and it's not just
it's cool.
trying to copycat it, and it doesn't just sound derivative. It sounds like something that's influenced, which is what good art
They're
does,
talented.
right?
Yeah.
They're super talented. Another thing about the DIY punk scene, you like meet the craziest, talentedest kids ever, and sometimes things don't pan out because they're so kind of off the wall with their creativity. But I am so impressed with Spokane's music scene that we are aware of. Also, the design scene, like kids coming out of the art world, and like the Eastern Washington design program, it just like blows me away. I mean, the art and music is amazing.
And I should point out, when we say kids,
well, we're meaning
it's everybody.
That's the other thing. We're kids.
Like hardcore and punk rock, like everybody's a kid. But yeah, like that's one of the things that we want to do with the comp, and that's why it's really like about mutual aid, and all the photographs in the inserts are taken by some of these.
Did you do those?
Yeah, I didn't. I took some of them, and I think Karina took a couple, our daughter, but most of them are from actual kids from high school. So another thing that we did when we came on the scene, I remember someone reached out to Hayes.
Yeah,
Xander, who takes a lot of photographs. He reached out to Hayes and asked about coming to photograph the show, and we're like, yeah, come in and get in for free. And the kid's been at every show taking photos for the last year and a half. And now he's playing music in a band, Lazarus, which will be at the upcoming Sonic Solstice. But most of the photos in there are taken by
him and
Talon, which are both Talon's in college this year, but they would have been taken when they were under 18.
Yeah, they're all, just
collaged them
photos
together.
So yeah, Rose put them together, and then the cover were some public domain photos from the old days from the
Old
library.
Spokane. And then we did some art on top of it. And
so all of that, we wanted to try to get as many people involved in the making. And so then the studio, we had several of the bands recorded at the community college. And so we want to make sure that everybody in the program that helped work on is recognized in the liner notes and gets a little credit to their name. And so it was about just bringing people together to make a product that's truly Spokane,
And Rose, you raise a good point about the talent, the level of talent that it reveals. So you had the release party, 2 days of concerts. So it was November 14th, November 15th. So between the album release and the release party, did you have people coming up to you and saying, I had no idea. I had no idea that this was going on here in Spokane.
We had a few people, a few older people were like, what is this? Like, it was cool.
And we've had, we've had the media reach out.
Yeah,
we got some great articles written by some people.
Good local coverage, which was nice.
And like Gonzaga, they sent out their
bulletin reporter
to write. And he had really cool to see all this stuff going on. And we've had not so much just this show, but since we started doing some shows at the Garland, there's been a lot of folks that have come out and just want to check it out because it's so awesome. I used to go to movies here when it was the Dollar Theater, and we love that. To still be able to go there and see it used in a different way, and promote what they're doing there is awesome. So we really, there is a lot of talent. People are seeing it. That was one of our missions, one of the goals, and we love the idea of bringing all that talent and trying to put it into get everybody pulling in the same direction and do cool stuff and highlight all the neat things that people are doing, whether it's taking pictures or making art or making music.
And I like the end art form, which is the physical piece to have.
Even
cool. If you're a photographer, when I was working photos from the collage in, using other photographers, images as well as some of mine. But there's some people that have been at a lot of the shows that we've put on, so specifically put them in on that insert.
Oh, cool.
And I was so dorky and excited to show them when they came, like, hey, here you are.
Here
And
you are.
a couple of them weren't as excited as I had hoped they'd be.
It's cool.
But then a couple people posted, like, I can't believe I made it to the insert. If I was just thinking, if I was like 15-year-old Rose made it into an insert, I would have been like so
fun.
cool. So part of it is also just embracing your inner nerd and having that physical piece. The vinyl is great, and to have your name on it in some way, I think is super cool.
For sure.
Yeah. And we had a couple of the band members really come up and say, like, wow, this is cool. It's the first time that we've been on vinyl. And we're like,
Everybody's super appreciative.
Yeah,
and
it's nice.
Yeah, it's good to know that you're working with the right people. You know?
yeah.
Is Live from Somewhere kind of in your Rolodex at all? You know, I'm sure you're aware of what they're doing.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
They filmed Haze. They filmed Haze.
Oh,
and
that's right. That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Literally like a year ago right now.
Yeah, and
the first week of December.
they found you. There wasn't a reach out scenario.
No, he
I don't know how they
contacted
came
Hayes,
across.
just playing shows and stuff. And
They filmed at the old Rusty's Diner right before it
Downtown.
closed.
Right.
and so yes.
Yeah,
what
because it
they're
seems
doing-
like they would be a natural.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And talk
Natural
about
fit
talent there.
Yeah.
The production
That was-
talent is pretty amazing.
we didn't know what, like, we knew, like, we'd seen the videos and stuff, and Hayes handles all his stuff, and I just like kind of get roped into it. So, you know, I don't know what we're gonna get into when we go down there, but I've seen their things, and I thought, like, this is cool. And we showed up, and yes, it's exactly like they've got people that are taking
Movie crew.
they got different crews of people shooting the film. They got people there that are taking pictures. Everybody's kind of like working together, but also like does their own independent stuff. Yeah, it's like that's what you want. You want like people, creatives from around the area, and I think that's what's cool about this podcast is you want people like to know that each other exists, and you see like the opportunities for like, hey, how can we collaborate? How can we do cool stuff together? And yes, so that has been a good relationship. We played, we did the release at the Garland with them, and then they invited us to play a show. Invited Hayes to play a show
Curators
this
of
summer
Sound at the MAC,
in the MAC, which
Museum.
is super awesome.
Which was another great partnership with a more traditional type art community, hosting live music and hosting some kind of louder bands.
So we hope they continue to do that
Yeah,
next
it was a
year.
good mesh of the art worlds, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes the art community can be a little snooty to let new forms of stuff
Well,
in.
there's that stigma there, you know. And
Yeah.
there's the assumption, like, oh, I got to, be in black tie for this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No,
we
it was-
see it. I'm a regular symphony goer myself. But I see folks say, oh, well, classical's not for me because of, all that I think it entails. And when you've got that crossover, and you're like, oh, they're just people who dig music too.
Absolutely.
And then you realize that, we've got more in common. And then that's when those conversations happen with the DIY community. Like, how many really fantastic achievements have started with the rhetorical question, like, wouldn't it be cool if,
Real.
and DIY just leaps all over that.
Yep,
Yeah, and-
100%.
And I guess to speak to, like, to bring this all back together, like, that's one of the things that we see in towns like Spokane or the Quad Cities is more of an ability to embrace the different sounds and the different approaches to art and the music, because you kind of need each other, more than you
We're
don't
scrappy.
have your own. Yeah, you don't have,
Yeah,
you don't have
you
your
have to
own
be.
like just jazz scene, and you don't have your own, like this scene. Everybody's kind of got to pool their efforts, since you get mixed bills of shows, and you get people who are, like the MAC, like everybody was super cool to us. We're like just up there making noise and crazy. But that show, you had like, hip hop groups, you had us. And then you had, a much heavier band to close the night, and everybody dug it. People stuck around.
And
the museum
everyone got
was
to see the
really-
museum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
and,
the
and
MAC.
you get people into the museum, young people who might not, who might think like this old art museum, and that's really what we hope to accomplish with everything we do, is to expose everybody to like the different stuff that's going on.
And that kind of leads us out really nicely with the Sonic Solstice, which is coming up. And so that's on December 19th, December 20.
Yep.
Also at the Garland?
Also at the Garland.
Also at the
yes.
Garland. And you've got, there's 3 days of bands, and there's about, I think, 6 or 7 bands per
session.
per session. Yeah. And so some of the bands that were on Beneath the Falls are going to be there.
Yep.
But then you're also kind of throwing the doors open to other bands as well.
Yeah, so that started literally our first year here. We did like a little show at the Dipper, and it was kind of like the idea was we wanted to get some of the bands that we played with in the first 2 months we had been out here, and like, you know, it's kind of like friends, and we made everybody buttons and stuff, and it was cool.
We gave out thanks for being bad.
Yeah,
That's what we gave out. Buttons.
Yeah.
Thanks
Like,
for being bad, and it
we
had a
made
little
some
card,
buttons
and
for
it was their
bands and
band
stuff.
buttons.
And so that grew, and then the next year, last year, we did 2 nights of it, and we did one night at the Dipper and one night at the Garland. And then this year we decided after the spring, we did a really cool event at the Garland where it's over 2 days and we did 3 sessions.
And one of them was a hardcore
show for a matinee.
Yep.
And so this time, like Sonic Solstice is the idea of it's like our friends and the people that we worked with throughout the year, or people that we work with in other capacities, and just trying to bring that community, because my idea is that when you hit December, it's hard to tour. It's hard to leave the area. You know, you get snowed in, and
especially here, we didn't factor in the Cascades. We were like, we can drive to Seattle whenever we want. We're like, no, you can't.
Yeah, I'm an East Coaster, and the whole idea of the pass is closed.
Yes.
It was a completely alien concept.
We've missed several
Same.
events.
I remember coming home, not to segue, we'll get back to Sonic Solstice, but I remember coming home and being like, by the way, people at work are telling me like you might not be able to drive to Seattle next week because of the pass. Like we had no idea. So
like what?
Haven't we tunneled through things by now? Yeah.
So create an event here and right before the holidays, and have it be
it's like perfect timing. Like it's like a holiday party, and you know, it's literally like what the solstice was in the old days.
Last year we showed a Christmas Vacation afterwards. So the Garland lets us show a free movie too. Yeah. It's kind of a nice ease into
like, you know,
Christmas.
Last weekend it's right heading in. As a teacher, I work on that schedule of like winter breaks and stuff, and so it's like it's the perfect like cap to send you into winter break and get everybody together, and it's like you're all in one spot and listening to each other and bringing folks together, and so that's the mission. And yes, it expands.
Yeah,
all sounds. And
shout out to the Garland for letting us do shows there, and you know, we take it seriously. It's a historical space, so we ask people to respect the space, and you know, sometimes music things can get a little rowdy, so we have to be like the old people. Sometimes we're like, knock it off. We have to put no crowd surfing signs up, which really breaks my heart. But at the same time, we get it. Like we don't have the liability stuff.
So,
but they've been really good to work with.
The kids and people that go to the shows are awesome and respect the space. They get that they're in, you know, a really cool venue, and so so it's coming up in 2 days, and Friday night is going to be a hardcore show. So we've got 7 bands playing. It'll be kind of the
Psychic Death being one of them.
Psychic Death being one of them. And
which we put out their album.
Yeah, we put their record out this year. A collection
took their 3 tapes and put it on vinyl.
That was fun.
It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
They're great.
And so they'll be playing along with a bunch of our other friends. And then the next day is kind of 2 mixed bills, everything from like softer things and more experimental things. Like Hand Signs is a really great artist that kind of on the more quiet side. And then you have everybody up to like Hayes and playing the noisy indie stuff. So yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah, and for folks who did end up, you know, getting into the Beneath the Falls comp, Dairy Baby's going to be there. Bad Trip Motel's going to be there.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So there's a couple, and that was the hard thing this year is we
don't want to have the same bands on every bill.
Exactly.
Because it's like, you know,
but it is Spokane.
Yeah, it is
so
Spokane.
But we did
got a couple, like Elaine's Gun. Is a relatively newer, all female band.
Yeah, it's great.
Rock. They're playing.
That's the first show that they'll be doing with us. But so there's
kind
a
of
few,
balance it out.
And you know, obviously, so Dairy Baby and Hayes, they're ours, quite literally.
Yeah, Dairy Baby is Everett, so
Everett's
Hayes'
project.
little brother.
Yeah, and that's where he's the
couldn't be
front
more
man.
different from Hayes.
Yeah,
in all worlds.
And so they kind of do. If we're gonna do the show, like they're going to be part of it. Just that's how it goes. And then Bad Trip, we're really close with those young dudes. They play in some other bands with Hayes and Ev, and so their other project was going to play. And they kind of slowed
They
down
broke up
down.
and they
So
came
it
back
just made
together.
sense. Like, let's just have Bad Trip to it.
And then like Iron Chain's playing, and Iron Chain is Nat's other project, Nat's and Blunt Skulls, who's
yeah,
on
so
the,
a lot of
okay,
those.
yeah,
okay.
and
You know, a
Wicked
lot of
Issue is also Mariah, who's
Blunt
also in Blunt Skulls.
Skulls,
So it's
yeah.
kind of a lot of crossover individuals that have different projects.
And that's inevitable,
Yeah.
with any music scene.
it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool that they have this platform for their other, to showcase their other music
Yeah,
as well.
For sure. Yeah. So that's that. We would love to do have 50 bands on every show and but we got to mix it up a little bit.
It is kind of a lot of work.
Yeah.
like we don't make any money. Like we just do this because we like it.
Yeah,
So
it's just fun.
We've got like, I don't know, 300 vinyls.
All
if
the
you
way
want a
back
copy
to the old
at
days.
home.
Like somebody always like when you'd rent like a venue or something and they're like, you do that, you do this for free. Like
Oh.
they always think there's some side hustle. Like there's no money to be made. I mean, people do it. Yeah, people can do that.
People
but
do, but
we always thought like, no, this is fun.
Yeah, and the dream isn't, the realistic dream or the realistic outcome is not so much to be kind of rolling around in piles of money, but just to break even.
Yes.
It's like that's the
Yeah.
highest
If
aim.
we can
That's
break
the
even,
highest
that's
hope.
nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
if we can get all the band's money and not
That's
lose
it.
any money,
Yeah.
perfect.
And we can, and again, our approach is like, we hope to break even, but if we don't, like whatever, like we're not going out and buying art and stuff.
No,
Like,
it's an investment.
This is the art.
We don't buy
we buy events.
what do normal people buy year over year? Like
I don't know.
new tea towels or something like that? I don't know. We
We've
just
been
like
removed from.
we have the same dishes from our marriage, our wedding 23 years ago. So
You keep breaking them.
and they're breaking. We need to buy more.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what people buy, luggage or something.
Yeah. True.
Well, on that appropriately DIY note, I'm going to move us into the lightning round. I don't know if you've given this enough of a listener, listened long enough to know that this was on the way. But there's a lightning round that ends
All right.
every one of these interviews.
All right.
And the first question is one that I had no knowledge really that this would end up being a topic of conversation, but it always is an either or, and you got to choose one.
Okay.
So, Rose, I'll start with you, and then
great.
Brett, you're gonna get the same question: vinyl or cassette?
Vinyl.
All right. Do you want to qualify your answer a little bit?
I love the static. I love the shape. I love the large format inserts. Although I grew up with cassettes and did not grow up with vinyl. So I think it's also more of like it's such a high quality luxury product for me that I love. That's why.
Okay.
I love that you have to flip it. I love everything about it. Clean it.
You got flip cassettes.
Yeah, but it's like, and I love cassettes too. But if I had to choose, I'd choose vinyl.
Fine. I don't like cassettes at all, and I don't like the resurgence of cassettes because I grew up with them, and I grew up with like the cassette breaking or your Walkman slowing down, and like
the slowing down of the
or,
Walkman.
You listen to a tape long enough to where it like would distort. Like I remember like snobs talking about CDs, but I love CDs. Like it's like the same thing every time, And when your Walkman went dead, it just went dead. You didn't have to listen to it slow. I love. Now here's the qualifier: recording on tape is the only way to do it. It's like that's
So
the
all
beauty.
analog there. Yeah.
Love recording on tape. Hayes' first record he did on 2-inch tape on reel to reel. So analog recording, but yeah, vinyl. It's like that's and like being in the 90s, like a young punk kid, like to get your sound on like a record, like that was
It's cool.
Yeah.
that's cool,
Yeah,
Like, you can
it's
make a
cool.
CD or a tape at home. You had to send a record out. Somebody had to make it for you. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and there's that novelty, especially of the 7-inch, like
Yes.
Yes.
and man, the number of obscure 7-inches that I've hunted down. But I have to say, like of the most democratic medium seems to be the cassette because
Yep.
Everybody can make them.
Yeah,
Yep.
anybody can make
And I
them.
love it. I love a
It's
cassette.
true.
Although when CDRs, I mean that kind of changed the game.
And
but-
that was cool for a while there too. That was fun. Yes. So
All right, so Brett, you're up now. You get this question: if there were a scented candle themed after you,
Oh my
what
god.
would it smell like?
This is funny because I really love
He's
candles.
obsessed with candles.
Like some people don't like going to like TJ Maxx and those places. I love it. Like I'm a candle guy. Yeah.
So what is your scented
So
candle?
I actually have a
that's-
scented candle. So our daughter worked at a candle shop back in Galena.
He's got his own scented candle that he crafted, and it's like
I swear I had no foreknowledge of
okay,
this
it's
at
this
like
all.
is true.
triple the amount of oiled perfume that you would put in a normal candle.
That
It's
was the
very
deal.
annoying.
Like, so Karina could make it. So I was like, no, you got to put more than. She's like, you're only supposed to put 3 drops. I'm like, no, you got to do more.
What is it?
And so I have 2 of them, and one of them they got funny names. Like it's like I don't know, sweaty something, but it's marshmallow, coffee, and vanilla. I believe.
There's that one, but then you have the perfumey one.
They're both rooted in that. Like they're both rooted in.
I can get behind that. Marshmallow, coffee, and vanilla?
It's great.
Okay, yeah.
It's
I can
amazing.
get behind that.
I'll have to get the name of it.
But like a hyper-powered scent.
Yeah,
with
overpowered,
like 6 times the amount.
Like give
of
you
the-
a headache.
Okay.
Like
It's great.
Yeah.
You want it to make the house and wood wicks. It's got to have a wood wick.
oh yeah, he
I
loves a
love the
good
sound.
wood wick.
So how about you?
My candle scent is very muted and very fresh. I like a laundry scenario or like a clean rain scenario. I have there was a candle maker in Oak Brook, Illinois, and I think it's called like Champagne Nights, but it's very like very smooth, very light. The older I get, the more, and it's annoying to him because I'm like, this candle smells like.
This is giving me a headache.
Yeah, and also just for you to know, fragrance is one of the leading cancer-causing ingredients in a
spoils
lot of
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like a muted, fresh scent, and he likes flavored
Yeah,
candles.
campfire.
Oh, campfire! He loves a good campfire.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but that can be pretty pungent, the smell of a camp.
See?
Yeah, if I'm gonna light a candle, I want to smell it. I don't want to look at it. I mean, I like hearing it, but
All right, so a laundry
Yeah, like a clean,
scent.
fresh,
Yeah.
like a
Okay.
like a linen or like a I like that.
my mom used to have that potpourri stuff from when I was little. Like you put in a pot, like it smells. So that I think, you need to have a smell. It's good stuff.
So this next one has kind of a performance element to it, but first I want to know either your favorite or most hated word. Do you have a word that maybe you use all the time? Maybe it's your favorite, or maybe a word that you would rather people do not use at all?
Do I have a favorite word?
I don't know if you have favorites. You have words that you really don't like, but none of them would be probably
I
appropriate.
do have a word I don't like that's not appropriate. I can think of one immediately. Can I say an inappropriate
No,
word?
don't say it. Don't make yourself look terrible.
I don't like when people refer to women's chest as with the T words. The T. I don't
Okay.
like that word.
Okay.
I just think it's like the weird, grossest word. But I don't know. I know it's like supposed to be funny, and that has nothing to do with like I'm not like a prude or anything. I just don't like that word.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do I love a word?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't. And then, so me, do I hate a word or like a word?
Yeah, hate a word, like a word. I want each of you to come up with a word that you really, one of the easiest candidates is moist. Like people have issues with moist.
Yes,
Yeah.
moist.
And I
is-
can totally get
kinda
behind
I
that.
agree
Gross
with
word.
moist is weird.
I don't know. Like, throughout my teaching life, there's things that come and go, like with kids. Like, not a word, but I was just thinking about this the
Like
other
6,
day.
7?
Yeah, I mean, some of them are just like ridiculous. But
I have a word I love. I know I love the word.
I don't know, like, I have like a phrase, like I really hated it when kids would say, just saying.
Yeah,
like,
You're like-
what? like, no, that's annoying. So there's that. I don't know. And
You
a
don't like
favorite word?
you don't like when people say pet peeve.
I don't like people complaining about pet peeves, but that's
Like
not really a word.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's a word, but
I have a word I love.
Okay. I want you to take that word that you love and I want you to whisper it in a stage whisper right into the mic.
Okay. Audacity.
That is a good one. That is
I
a
love
good
it.
one.
The audacity.
I know.
And when you pull it out at the right time, it lands.
Yeah.
it lands.
It lands.
And it is going to sound very nice whispered into the mic. I can assure you of that.
I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite word. I mean,
I mean,
I do
you know
have
what you
could
favorite
say?
words,
You-
but
Given,
it's all the words my dad said to me growing up.
given that just saying is kind of it could be regarded as a single word. I'll let you say that, whisper that phrase. right into the mic.
Shoot. You've been saying that lately. He's been walking around the house saying something lately.
Say,
It's not really a favorite word. He goes, shoot.
Okay, so just saying. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I have issues with just saying as well, simply because people use it to kind of absolve themselves
Yeah,
of accountability.
That's like so.
yeah.
You just
Teacher.
insulted
Or
me. You
literally-
don't get away with it
literally,
just
yeah.
because you're just saying.
Yeah.
Whether they were aiming that at another student,
Just
or if they're
saying.
saying it to you like didn't want to do this or do that. Yes, that's annoyance. Yeah, like what? Don't say that. Just own what you're doing. You know.
Finally,
Mm-hmm.
I have had jazz folks in here. I have had classical folks in here, and I have asked them, appropriate variations of this question. So the question that I put to you is the punk album that should be in everybody's collection, whether they're a punk fan or not.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm going to be bad at this because, number one, I don't know album names.
Mine is not an album, but
A collection.
A collection.
Are you going to say Minor Threat?
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's mine. That's mine.
No, the Minor Threat discography is
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, that's it, man. That's it. It's so much. It's like their approach, like everything, to like the hostility of that music and all the different offshoots that those guys did, and just the sound. Like that's quintessential like hardcore punk right there. So.
Yeah, and I think Can't Keep Up, Out of Step with the World is something that's there's a certain timelessness to that sentiment.
gets
Yeah,
old.
it was like the first time I listened to that, I was like, oh my gosh, blown away, like hiding it under my pillow. Because again, I wasn't allowed to listen to music, so I snuck that one in. That was a very informative album for me. CD.
Revelatory.
Yes. I don't know. I mean,
So
It's
even
hard.
if it's hard to identify an album, is there a band? I mean,
I mean,
you
there's a
mentioned the
lot of
Minor
albums that
Threat.
are like albums you definitely would take, like, if you could only listen to it, Bob Dylan. We have a few, we're big Bob Dylan fans. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
we
some
love
of the
everything.
classic,
Like, we definitely
we love him.
old soul stuff. I listened to a lot of soul growing up, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of bands,
But actually, you can combine that as your joint answer
Mm-hmm.
if that's what you were going to say. Something from the Minor Threat discography.
yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. I'd say, like.
Because ideally, I want the non-punk, the person who says, I'm not into that music, to listen to this and be like, I think I might add that to my
Right.
collection.
Like-
If it comes with their endorsement, and then all of a sudden
sure.
that opens up
Well,
the
that
entire
is-
world.
that's always-
Fugazi and
That's it. I mean,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
that's-
Fugazi's
you know,
amazing.
Yeah.
And Minor Threat's kind of a cop-out answer in that it's
It feels
it's
like cliche, but it's like
the sum of
true.
everything that came after too. Like like the approach, like whether you got into straight edge or the politics of it, or the aggressiveness of that music, or what those people did after with Embrace and Fugazi and just their Discord records. Like, yeah, I mean, people have like their heroes and that, and it's I tried to be too cool for that, my whole life, but yeah, man, I definitely have like really taken a lot from that crew of
The
of
DC
people.
era,
Yeah,
the DC
that
crew.
scene and how they approach things, and put ideology ahead of profit, and like you can do this and fun, and you can do it forever, and like you continue to give back, and you're part of a community. Like that's awesome to me, So Minor Threat, I think, is a good. Plus, that's what lots of people think of when they think of punk rock. Some kid yelling into a microphone, it's fast and crazy, and
It's fast,
yeah.
it's good.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I agree.
I could agree with that.
But I mean, there's other bands too.
Yeah, but for the essential inclusion in your collection, that's it right there.
That has to, you have to have
Yeah.
that in
You
your
gotta have
collection.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Rose, Brett, I want to thank you so much for coming in today and
Yeah.
talking about this. And I, for one, am really jazzed about what 221 is doing. And the light that you're shining on the Spokane music scene is something that I appreciate, because some of these bands weren't on my radar, and now they are. And it's
Cool.
great.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This has been great.
Thank you. It is awesome, and we appreciate what you're doing, and that's why I reached out. It's awesome, and this is what we're talking about. Like, people shine a light on each other and what creatives are doing here in Spokane, and it's great. And yes, you can be guaranteed if it's something we're doing, it's cool.
Oh God!
All
That
those
makes it
bands,
automatically
all
not
these
cool.
bands are great. They got our
You
stamp
can't
of
say
approval.
you're cool. That's like the very thing that makes you not cool.
I don't know. I'm old enough
gosh.
to be able to do that. So yes, I'm glad you said that. And there are great bands here and great artists, and it's been fun to be able to be part of it. So
Yeah.
we enjoy it.
Yeah.
Thanks.